Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Q&A hashtag video games. And this was the one video of the planned Q&As, like the themed Q&As, where I was actually expecting a lot of questions because this is like a topic that allowed you to ask me about stuff other than like Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger and just like really bust my chops on a lot of stuff. But for some reason you didn't. In fact, it was almost the same as all except one of my previous Q&As where only Discolius is asking the questions. So that's actually kind of surprising for me. But nonetheless, there are still questions, so I'm going to do my best to answer them. So, as I mentioned, it's at Discolius who's asking the questions, so let's get started. What, if any, computer games do you play? On my computer I have Warcraft 3. When I was a kid, I also had Warcraft. I also played some Warcraft 2, some Doom 2, Quake. But yeah, that's about the extent of my computer gaming. Just because whenever I do game, I generally prefer like a console or a handheld for my gaming. So next question. Have you been to any VGM-based concerts, and if so, how were they? Yes, and they've actually been pretty good. I have the review of Distant Worlds up if you wanted to get my thoughts on the Distant Worlds concert that was here back at the end of April earlier this year. I've also been to Video Games Live, which has like a more of an assortment of different games, and yeah, they actually put on a really good show. They play pretty much everything from Zelda to Super Mario to Castlevania to Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross and Final Fantasy, Kingdom of Hearts. So yeah, you get a potpourri of the games of the more famous games, even Warcraft and Skyrim. The last one, they came last year, they covered Skyrim, so yeah. Generally speaking, they've been pretty good. So next question. What's your favorite video game system? Let's see, overall, I'm kind of geared towards Super Nintendo because I grew up on it. It's a nostalgia factor. As an adult, I did gear a little bit more towards PlayStation. But nowadays, I do most of my gaming on handheld because I have a 2-hour commute. I generally have like an hour to 2-hour commute to work because I take the train and the bus, so it does take some time for me, and having like a DS does help. So that's the bulk of my gaming is on handhelds. So that takes me back to Nintendo because, well, I have a DS and a 3DS. So there you go. Did you get any games for Christmas? Yes, I did. Legend of Zelda, A Link Between Worlds. I wanted this one. I asked for this for Christmas because it's based on... The map is based on the Super Nintendo Zelda game, so it's like I was curious as to what they were going to do with it. And so far, like, I've gone through Turtle Rock, like one of the first dungeons in the Dark World, so, and it is really good. I'm loving this game. So yeah, and let's see, I also have another game around here somewhere. I ordered this on Boxing Day, and it just arrived in the mail about an hour or two ago. I still haven't opened it up yet, because I know that if I take it out and start it, I'm going to neglect Zelda, and I want to finish Zelda before I open up Castlevania. So, that's how my games are going now. So, if the Zelda game is any indication, I'm going to have a lot of fun. So, let's go to the next question. How did you get into Final Fantasy? When my brother and I picked up Final Fantasy IV from a flea market when we were kids, it was $60, so we went in halves and got Final Fantasy IV, which at the time was 2 because we live in North America. So, and yeah, I remember the story, like really enjoying the story, and then my fourth favorite video game song, Prologue from Final Fantasy IV, is one that I had enjoyed. So yeah, that always stuck out. I mean, that's what got me into Final Fantasy. So next question. How much time do you spend playing video games? Maybe a couple hours a week. Honestly, not as much as I did when I was a kid. Because, well, when I was a kid, I was one of those loners, so I always had a lot of free time. So it's basically, okay, once I'm done my homework, what do I do? Play video games. So, when I was a kid, I played a lot of video games, and now that I'm an adult and make money, I have a job, so that takes up time. I have other interests, I'm into pro wrestling, which I was back then, but I didn't have the DVD collection back then that I have now. As you know, I do videos, which also does take up some time. So yeah, it's one of those things where my interests have grown, so that's cut into my video game time. So yeah, it's seeming to be about a couple hours a week. Next question. Do you play anything other than Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger? Yes. Like I said, I'm playing this game right now, Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds. When I'm done with that, I'm going to start in on Castlevania. And before that, on my DS, I have the re-released Dragon Quest games. Because, they did 4, 5, and 6 for the DS, and I thought, okay, I like 7. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a try and see how it is. I really enjoyed 5. Out of the re-released Dragon Quest games for the DS, I like 5 best. So if you want to give that a chance, that gets my endorsement. And like I said, I do play Warcraft 3 sometimes on my computer. So yeah, it really depends on what I'm in the mood for. And wrestling games too. I do have some wrestling games. And let's see, next question. What's your newest console/handheld? My 3DS. I'm generally geared more towards handhelds now because, like I said, my commute to work, it takes me about an hour or two each way, so that way I have something to do. So let's see, next question. What are your top 5 video games? Well, I mentioned earlier about, like I mentioned in previous Q&A, about Final Fantasy 6 and 7 and Chrono Trigger being my top 3. So aside from that, it's one of those things where it depends on my mood. There are 4 different games that would vie for the other 2 spots, and that's Final Fantasy IV, Dragon Warrior Dragon Quest VII, Chrono Cross. What was the other game? There's one other game that's kind of slipping my mind at the moment. If I remember it, then I will slip it in as I'm editing this video. Yeah, but I know that there's at least one other game that kind of gets into my rotation because Dragon Warrior 7. So I'll go with those 3, and if I remember anything else, I'll shoehorn it in there when I'm editing. So yeah, those 3, depending on the mood I'm in, 2 of those 3 will be my top 5. And looks like last question here. Have you played any first-person shooters, and if so, which ones? I mentioned earlier Quake and Doom 2 I've played. Aside from that, if you count the Army Men games, I've played Team Assault on the PlayStation 1. Aside from that, I really don't remember playing any ones. So if I did, they were just not memorable to me, and it's just not my style. Nothing against them. Like I said, it's just I'm more geared towards RPGs like Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest. So, thank you, Discolius, for submitting questions once again. And now for next week. My next Q&A is hashtag Pro Wrestling. Now this one, I can make it a little more special for you guys. You have 3 choices. You can see me wear some CM Punk wristbands, which I got for Christmas as a special add-on to a DVD that I got. I got the CM Punk Best in the World DVD, and this was a bonus item that came with them. So this is option 1. You can see me wear them. Option number 2. Oh, I love option number 2. And I think there's at least one other person who would love to see option number 2. As a bonus to another DVD that I got for Christmas, my very own Mr. Socko! That's right, I got the Mankind DVD, which comes with its very own Mr. Socko! So, you can have me use Mr. Socko to answer questions for the second option. Or, if you think I'm just that ugly, you actually have 2 choices of masks. The first one, I'm sure I've showed this one on my channel before. You can see me wear this mask. Or I'll grab my other mask or you can see me wear this mask. So there you have 4 options as to how you want me to deal with hashtag Pro Wrestling. So ask questions. If you're Discolius, you can ask questions. If you're not Discolius, you can still ask questions. As long as it has to do with hashtag Pro Wrestling. Well, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, thanks for watching. Remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter. Have a happy New Year, and I hope you had a great Christmas.